Welcome back to Casual EDH. This is Chris again, and this is going to be part 2 of opening my first box of the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate collector's boxes. I bought 2 boxes on Black Friday. If you want to hear the whole story, go back and watch video 1. Maybe there's going to be a link down below. I don't know. But yeah, so I took a quick break in between opening the 2 halves of the box just to get a water and things. And I had a sudden thought. So I was able to get these on the cheap because Amazon was basically fire selling them because they were looking to clear warehouse space. If you don't know, Amazon sells directly from Wizards of the Coast. They don't go through a secondary supplier. So basically they're kind of drop shipping from the Wizards of the Coast warehouse. So if Wizards of the Coast needs to clear inventory space, they will sell stuff on Amazon for really low. That's why you get $90 Midnight Hunt collector's booster boxes on Black Friday, which was actually Thanksgiving, by the way. I thought it was going to be Black Friday itself, but no, it was actually Thanksgiving. I was upset I missed that part. But they did have these. But I had a thought. These packs, they open really poorly, and they show really bad quality issues with the closing. So I actually wonder if these ones that were being sold, like, they're so bad it almost feels like they're repacks. They're not. And if you watch the first video, you can tell that they're not just from the stuff I was pulling. But I actually had a thought that maybe these are the ones that did not meet the quality for the initial print run of the set, and maybe these were held back to sell at the end of the set. That way there'd be less complaints about quality issues with the booster packs. It would make sense, and that's also why they might be less, because they're not exactly defective, but they're not... I mean, when you're paying as much as money as you pay for these kinds of packs, they are not of the quality that I would want to see in a product, right? So I have a feeling that's kind of what's going on here. I have a feeling these were the holdbacks for quality that they're now saying, yeah, good enough, just go ahead and sell them at the fire sale, right? Get them out of the warehouse. Because what else are they going to do? They're just going to destroy them, right? So, anyway, that's my tinfoil hat theory. Call me Rudy if you want. It's fine. I don't care. Yeah. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and open up some booster packs and get away from the conspiracy theories. Ah, they didn't come out of the pack. Alright. So, here we have a Dread Lenorm. Let me read this one real quick. Put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature and untap it to gain text proofs until end of next turn. So for 4 mana, you have an instant that can do protection on a creature. For 7 mana, you get a 7/6 that can't be blocked by creatures of power 3 or less. I really like adventure cards. I will say this time and again. I like these modal cards. I like the fact that after you cast it for its adventure, it goes into exile and it's protected for the rest of the game. Like, people can't go into your exile and start messing with your cards there like they can with cards in your hand, your deck, your graveyard. So I do like these, even if they are super expensive. Sapphire Dragon, another one of those. And Modify Memory. Swampy. Kadira, Caller of the Small. 3 mana for a 3/3. Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, for each token you control, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. So this is good for... I feel like this would be in the 99 for a deck. I feel like you would want to put this into a deck that creates a lot of tokens to begin with. Maybe one of the Selesnya commander decks, like the Conclave and whatnot. Or maybe even like Geared Conclave Exile. Ones where you're already generating a lot of tokens, and then you can make a lot of rabbit tokens too. Now it is for each token you control, not each creature token you control. So that means your treasure tokens turn to rabbit, or make additional rabbits as well. So just things to keep in mind if you are going to play her. Flaming Fist. I really like this card, and I'm going to explain why. It's 3 mana for a background enchantment that says commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. This card is just weak enough that people aren't usually going to target it directly, so it's going to stay on the field for a good long time. But it does give your commander double strike when it attacks. So for any kind of aggressive commander in white, this is really good. I feel like I just repeat myself here, but I do have this in my Alayla Artful Provocateur deck. Because I do have the commander become a bit more aggressive. so giving her double strike is so much fun. Making sure that she just has first strike is very high on the list of things to give her in that deck, because she does have death touch, so first strike death touch just makes people scared to block. But also can force them into blocks because she's commander and you don't want to take the commander damage. So giving her double strike is one way of doing that, and it's a far more aggressive way of doing that. I love Flaming Fist. I think it's a really good card. Right. Ragadraga Gorgut's Boss. This is the one that gives mana dorks +2/+2. So each creature you control with a mana ability gets +2/+2. Whenever a creature you control with a mana ability attacks, untap it, so it's pseudo-vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell, if at least 7 mana was spent to cast it, untap target creature gets +7/+7 and gains trample until end of turn. This can be a really strong commander. It is Gruul, and he buffs all of your Gruul minions. I mean, it makes Llanowar Elves into a 3/3. You can make something basically, if you spend 7 mana to cast a spell, in a turn, you can make a Llanowar Elves into a 10/10 with trample. That can get kind of ridiculous. Dinah here, Invoker Adept. And I talked about it in the last video, so I'll talk about it again. This is actually another Bountiful Promenade, and I'm not upset by that. Foil Bond lands, I will take them. Foil Full Art Bond lands, I will especially take them. Let's get into pack number 2. Again, just look some of these like quality issues here. Like, it shouldn't be looping like that. That's actually, in the past, that would be a great way to find out if it's been repacked because they didn't reseal that portion of it. Because this entire thing should just be completely sealed. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, man. Sorry. I do know how to open these. And that's the other thing, like, if you open them up like that, like, look at how that glue is. Like, that's, like, how you kind of expect someone just like, super gluing it would be. But that is the original adhesive. That is how it's supposed to be, so. It just doesn't not look or feel like it. Wayfarer's Bauble, I think Mitch just got happy for no apparent reason. It is a 1 mana artifact that has 2 tap, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put down battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Land ramp cards like this outside of green are not very common. And having something that doesn't make you, basically doesn't say if you're in last place you can put a plains on the field is also rare. So something that you can put into any color without too much text on it, this is really good. Being able to use your land ramp on turn 2 when you'd want to use a rampant growth is nice, although it does prevent you from doing a turn 1 Soul Ring. Actually, no, it doesn't, because if you do a turn 1 Soul Ring, then you use the Soul Ring to cast this. So, yeah, there isn't really that much of a drawback on this card. The only thing is it's really unnecessary if you're playing green. You do not need to play this if you're playing green. That's really all there is to it. Mystery Key. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice Mystery Key if you do draw 3 cards. So you spend 3 mana to draw 3 cards as long as you connect to a player. I don't think that's unplayable, but that feels like a couple hoops. Islands. Alright. Ooh, actually, we're going to follow up the islands with a Decanter of Endless Water. Again, I'm not a real fan of this art, but I do like this card. So it's 3 mana. You have no maximum hand size. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. For an artifact, for a 3 mana artifact, this is pretty good. It's mostly because it has you have no maximum hand size. If you need a second Thought Vessel in your deck, this is the closest you're going to get. It's 1 mana more, but it does add 1 mana of any color. This is one of the commons that did get seen by the community. As the time of this recording, or I should say like 2 days ago from the time of this recording, because that's the last time I checked, a non-foil standard copy of this from the set was like $2. A common card. And a set that people didn't like, $2. This is one to watch. And getting any kind of special editions of it is also something to watch. We got Veteran Soldier, which is a background. Candlekeep Sage, which is also a background. Fraying Line, which is a lot of text. Ooh, that's This is really how you know this is not a repack. I will say this every time there's a good hit, because there is no one who's not going to take out if extended art black market connections if it's in here. If this were a repack, someone would have taken this for sure. They just put something junkier in. This is... I hear people say this is a better Phyrexian Arena, and I do and don't agree with them. If you're looking purely for card draw, this is worse. If you're looking for utility and other effects, this is better. Because Phyrexian Arena is 3 mana for enchantment that you lose a life during your upkeep and you draw a card. This one is at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose one or more. So you go through your untap, upkeep, and draw. And this at the beginning of your main phase. So you will actually have seen your normal draw for the turn before you get to choose this, which is important because you have create a treasure token, lose a life, draw a card, lose 2 life, and create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with changeling, which means it's all creature types, lose 3 life. So if you're playing a black deck that cares about creature types, say ninja, like a ninja deck, hire a mercenary, the 3/2 colorless skeleton, that could be important. Draw a card, you lose 2 life. That could be important if you don't draw what you need that turn. This is why it's important that it's after your draw step. But you always get to, at the very minimum, just basically have a form of temporary ramp. By paying a life, you get a treasure token. Double that if you have any kind of token doublers. You do have to choose at least one, so you're always going to lose some life during your while this is out. But you can choose how much you're going to lose depending on what ability you want. It's extremely flexible. It's extremely sought after. I know that I was selling copies of these straight from the Commander deck for like $45. Basically, I was buying the Commander deck and then just selling the one card out of it to buy the rest of the Commander deck, which had other useful things in it. So I like to build decks to put online and resell. And it had a lot of good, solid Commander cards that were relatively inexpensive. Normally, I would not buy a deck just to get those commons, uncommons, and whatnot to reuse in a new deck. But when you basically have one card in the deck that buys the entire deck if you resell it, then it's just free real estate for me to gather up some staplage type cards and be able to make new decks to put online for people. Super fun. I don't know that I could do that now. I think they've gone down a little bit in price, but I mean, this is still probably... the extended art's probably still in the 40 or 50 range at the time of recording. I'd have to double check. So good. And honestly, the rest of the pack is not really fully there. Wizards of Thay, Will, Blade of Frontiers, Asterion the Decadent, and Gale's Redirection. Alright. We are 2 packs in. We have 4 more to go. I did talk about the Black Market Connections for a little bit. That card deserves the time it gets, though. That's a really good card. I'm very excited to have that copy. That's going to go replace a copy in one of my other decks. Because I did keep a few of them for myself, of course. Ooh, Irenicus' Vile Duplication. This is another one of those cards that has been noticed by the community. It's 4 mana for a sorcery that has create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Except the token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. So you can make a copy of a creature and give it flying, which opens a whole new broad spectrum of possibilities for certain creatures. And the fact that you can use it to clone your commander and have 2 copies of your commander could be pretty good. That could be really good. Just saying. I would definitely play this in like a green-red blue deck. Sorry. I don't know my colors. I promise. I promise I made it out of elementary school. I would play this in like a green-red blue deck. Right now I'm personally running a Sakashima Tana the Bloodsower deck. So I would put this in that deck just to basically make copies of other creatures, because that's kind of the theme of that deck. But you can also just kind of splash this in a lot of blue decks. This isn't a bad card for any blue deck. And I think foil copies of this have been going for 5 or 6 last I knew. For an uncommon. Again, an uncommon is a set that people just generally didn't like. That's actually kind of surprising. Plains. Goggles of Night. Gut, the True Soul Zealot. Goblin Shaman. Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice another creature or an artifact. If you do, create a 4/1 black skeleton creature token with menace that's tapped and attacking. Yeah, that's alright. I mean, I don't know. My first thought is you put into a goblin deck because you almost always have a goblin to sacrifice in those kinds of decks, but then you lose the support. Like the 4/1 Black Skeleton isn't supported like the goblins are, so I think it actually hurts you in that deck. It says whenever you attack. It doesn't say whenever he attacks, so it's just when you go into the combat phase. So there is that. He does not have to be attacking. I'm sure there's probably some Jund deck out somewhere that really likes this card, maybe like a Prosh deck, just to get an extra sacrifice in there for some effect. Prosh is a little bit more combo-y. I'm not sure. If you have a commander that you would put this in, please let me know. Like, write something down below. I'm actually really curious, because every time I think, oh, maybe that's the kind of deck you'd put it in, I then go, no, it really doesn't actually fit in the deck. So I'm actually really curious. Halcyon, Emerald Archdruid, Wrathful Red Dragon. This is the card that says, hey, Blasphemous Act exists, and I'm running dragons. So let me just cast Blasphemous Act while I have a bunch of dragons out and then kill my opponents. Because everyone expects to die to burn damage and dragons. Because it has, whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. And players aren't dragons, it turns out. So, most Planeswalkers aren't dragons too. I have to say most because, there is that one Sarkon card, but, whatever. But yeah, so players and Planeswalkers aren't dragons, so if you deal damage to them, you can redirect to people. So, hey, who'd have thunk? Haunted One. Blade of Cells. Ooh, I'm actually glad to see that. Karlach. Fury of Avernus. This is a really good card. It's a situational card. You do have to have a deck that it could actually fit in. I imagine this might be something you might want to even put into like a Nagila deck or something. But this is a really good card in some decks. I put him in Henzi Toolbox Torres. For 5 mana, you get a 5/4 that says, whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. So it does everything you want for an extra combat phase. It untaps the creatures. It says you get a second combat phase. You do not get a main phase in between combat phases. But you also give your creatures first strike, so they're likely to survive the first combat. And for Henzi, where you're blitzing everything in, that's good enough. I mean, truthfully, you don't necessarily care if your creatures survive those combats, but making it so that you can make really hurt opponents by either taking out their creatures or just doing straight up combat damage to them, really good. Really, really good. John Irenicus, Shattered One. Gorion, Wise Mentor. I don't have a lot to say about those cards. Irenicus is kind of a give your stuff away to people, and I don't necessarily like that because it's only got so many playstyles, and most of them are just they're only fun for the person playing the giver, basically the person playing John Irenicus, kind of like a Beamtown Bullies type thing. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I'm not a fan of that playstyle personally, so I don't build decks for that. Just show a few cards here. Party Edge of the Forest. Sivirus, Nightmare Speaker. Sivirus, Nightmare Speaker. Go figure. Thrakus the Butcher. A foil Minskin Boo. So that's another Minskin Boo. I'm pretty sure between the Minskin Boos, the Black Market Connections, and the Battle Angels of Tyr, I probably got my money from the collector's box out completely. I'm pretty sure that matches everything. Folk Hero is a good background for a tribal deck. Commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell that shares a creature type with this creature, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So if you are playing a tribal that has white in it, there's really not a reason not to play this, really. It's a pretty good one. Font of Magic. Popular Entertainer. Sorry, my light's giving me some problems tonight. The Council of Four. And Basilisk Collar. It's a bunny. We'll get to that in a second. So Basilisk Collar is a 1-mana artifact equipment. Equip creature has Death Touch and Lifelink, and equip 2. So if you have a commander that pings things, you can clear boards with it. If you just need another way of getting Lifelink onto the table, you just need to gain some life, use it. Basilisk Collar has been in the game for quite a while. This has been reprinted quite a few times, especially recently. It's a good card. It's not bad. Yeah. And a bunny token. These bunny tokens actually aren't that common. I've opened up... This will be the third Commander Legends box I've opened. And I've also opened up, like, 10 between 10 draft and set boosters. And this is the second token I've gotten for a rabbit. I keep rabbits. I've had rabbits for years. So the flippity floppities here, I think this might be... I don't know, it's adorable. I love it. This might be the most valuable card in this set to me right now. I love it. I'm actually going to keep it separate over here. Alright. 2 more packs. These are honestly just the worst things to open up. Okay. Lightning Bolt. I really like the art of this Lightning Bolt too. This is a really nice... Like, they really did good with the Lightning Bolts in this set. Like, no lie. Another Renicus's Vile Duplication. I'm digging it. I will sell that on eBay all day, every day. So that's a couple dollar bill there. I mean, it's a good card. I just don't need too many copies of it. Alright, so we're at the lands. We have a Swamp. We have Thrakus the Butcher. We have Flaming Fist. I talked about this in either earlier this video or in the previous video. I'm not going to lie. Time has no meaning to me right now. So if it was earlier this video, you can go back and I'll talk about it more. Or you can go and watch the other video. Far Traveler. Miriam Sentinel Worm. I'll talk about this one real quick. This is a dragon. It is 3 green, blue, and red. It has Flying and Ward 2. It is a 6/6. It has whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. So basically, this is a way to basically double up all your dragons. Dragons tend to be large, they tend to be in charge, they tend to be beefy, and they tend to be expensive. So getting a big, beefy, in charge, expensive creature out for free as a token, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's a pretty good card. We have a Aboleth Spawn. We have a Merkle, Lord of Bones, etched. We have a Glunch the Bestower. And here's a card that I haven't gotten at all from any of the boxes I've opened either. It is Storm King's Thunder. It is X and 3 red. It has, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell X times. You may choose new targets for the copies. So if you have a bunch of mana and you have spells that you really want to cast multiple copies of, this is your guy. I'm also going to point out that they do have a Boo token in this set as well. I think that's the first one I've seen. I feel like this box has a bunch of just cards I have not seen, which is a little weird. It's also weird that out of these 12 packs, not a single Ancient Dragon has popped up. I mean, there is still one more pack, so maybe I'm jinxing myself, but I would like to see one. Deadly Dispute. This is another one of those commons that has gotten some recognition. It's 2 mana and has an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You can draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. If you have it's at instant speed, so if you have something that's on its way out anyways, this is a way to get a little bit more out of it before it goes. It's also just an additional sack outlet that lets you draw a couple cards. It's a pretty good card. Nothing wrong with it. It's actually a reprint. This was in the original Forgotten Realms, I believe. Alright, we're already at the island. Look at how thick. It's like, this is the commons and uncommons, and this is the rest. Even rare cards don't necessarily feel rare anymore, do they? Diana here. Locking Double. Spire Garden! Another one of the Bond lands. I love it. Shadowheart, Dark Justicar, Gorion, and Asterion. So there we go. Alright, let's see here. I do want to... Oh, I just realized I did not sign a card at the end of the last video. Because I'm dumb. Alright. I'm going to do Scouting Hawk here, and I think I'm actually going to do the Lightning Bolt here. I'm doing this for a reason. The Scouting Hawk, I didn't talk about it, but it's actually not a bad card. It has, when it enters the battlefield and an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for a basic Plains card, put on the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. So 3 mana for a 1/1 flyer that gets you caught up on mana on lands. That's par for the course for white. But at least it does have a 1/1 flying body, which is relevant. And then, of course, Lightning Bolt I did talk about. So this will be for the first video. And this one will be for the second video. Don't mind me, I'm dumb sometimes. Alright, I promise I will not miss those triggered effects on the next couple of videos. Haha, inside joke. There you go. And there you go. Alright, well, if you're still watching, thank you so much. The bunny says bye, and so do I. Have a good one.